want to see. I just want to look at it and see that mine's kind of pitching in the.
It's going to be a thing now. You're just going to be like
testing. Test.
It helps if you make love to it.
Testicle. Testing.
It just helps if you tickle its balls. It really helps.
Yeah. So if you can give me like a fake pair of nuts, I can just...
Please try not to cut my mics.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Hey there, frackers. So, once again with me we have...
Richard.
And Pete.
And I am Dan, otherwise known as Twisted View. And we watched episode 6 today, which is entitled Litmus. So we'll do as we normally do, go around and give me your thoughts, Rich, on what you thought of the episode.
I loved this episode of Law and Order. Sorry, Ally McBeal. Sorry, Suits? No, okay. Battlestar Galactica, yeah. It was, I liked it. It got to that point where, you know, what are the Cylons up to? Who are they? What's going to happen? Who's the Cylon? We got to that crunch point where people started playing the blame game. They got a council in to try and find out who, you know, let the explosion happen. And I loved all that. I loved the background piece of the 3 Cylons that we are aware of, seeing what Hilo was doing, and they had those shots of them on the roof, almost like watching a rat trying to navigate its way through a maze and testing it and all that sort of stuff. So
something I actually noted down as a visual for that is like the cat and a mouse. And
yeah,
you
exactly.
See the little rat next to Hilo when he comes on screen.
Oh, that's why it was in my mind. And yeah, but I remember looking at it thinking, right, okay, that's cool. You're kind of watching them figure out what the humans are doing, testing them. But yeah, love the episode, and I'm really hoping we get more of this investigation stuff for the Cylons. I just didn't like the way at the end of the episode it was almost like case closed. I feel like the whole thing is about trying to...
So you felt like they should have carried this on.
Yeah, I was really hoping we were going to get something more out of that, like maybe a split, a fraction with the Security Council constantly poking their nose into what the army are doing.
How do you know they won't?
Well, we'll see. But that was my view. I really liked the episode. Yeah, it was good.
Excellent. Pete?
Yeah, I think at the end of the episode, I just put as a sentence, being put under the microscope as the theme of the episode. I felt like everything was being scrutinised or being observed. Like, so from Hilo, the security, everything was being put under such intense scrutiny. And it's like how people are then kind of reacting to that. They're lying or they're covering, you know, what are they doing in order to survive? And yeah, I just thought that was, like, for me, thematically, the main thing that really stood out. I think I really liked the whole thing with Hilo, purely because as his character is, and I just love when they were like, oh, he doesn't love you, and then he turns around and it's just like, ha ha ha, he does. And then they beat her up anyway. So it's it's just Cylons testing. They're limit testing, aren't they? That's
it's great. I love seeing it from that angle.
Well, also they if you think like the beating her up element, obviously they're still playing the game. They're still attempting to make sure that everything seems above board, so that he doesn't get suspicious. Because you're right. I get what they're saying. Like, you know, when Six says to Sharon, like,
no, Sharon wouldn't give up without a much harder fight.
Sharon will fight harder than that.
Bang.
Let's start hitting her even more. On that note, actually, that's because we'll stick with the Hilo bit because you mentioned it before we move on to the other stuff. So the question there, and I think it was sort of asked and answered at the end of that element, which was by Sharon. I liked when they're talking about it, going, "Oh, does he love you? Does he not? If he goes south, he doesn't. If he goes north, he does." And you think that's the question, but she actually answers it correctly, I think, which is,
seems you made an impression after all. He's a good man.
Hilo's a good man, so it's irrelevant of whether or not he would love her or not. If that was one of his comrades, he would have gone after them anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, I also like the fact that you saw Six beating up Sharon, and earlier on, she said to Gus, "You wouldn't like me when I'm angry," and you've seen what she's capable of. Like,
I didn't even know Marvel was a thing in this universe, but apparently she's seen the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
It's also a League of Legends quote as well.
Oh, is
The
it?
character Noonie says, "Don't make the Yeti angry. You won't like him when he's angry." And I was sitting there thinking, "Oh, did they lift that from that?" I now need to look that up on
They must have. They must have.
Because League came out after that, so I thought that's really.
Well,
cool
I'm willing to bet yes, it did come out
right.
after the 1970s or 60s when Hulk actually came out.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
I wasn't talking about the Hulk.
Oh, you're talking about this?
Yeah. So I think it's just cool because if that was,
I think all of it is a line. It's all from the Hulk because that's a famous Hulk line. So if any of them are taken, that's like one of his big lines. You won't like me when I'm angry.
Oh, right.
That is what he's known for.
Okay. So in that case, yeah, it's cool where you see pop
thought you
culture
were nerdier
moving
than this,
across
Pete.
and being referenced. Do I need to move in more?
I said I thought you were nerdier than this.
Oh, okay.
I went ahead and took the liberty of making you 5 man cards.
Fine. I'll hand in one of my nerd cards, shall I?
Oh, the lettering is darling. Have you ever done calligraphy?
Thank you.
You can be the new Perry. But yeah, I just thought all of that, and we're going to see a lot more of it because it's now the humans being playing the Cylon game. You know, the Cylons are in control. The humans, I don't think really they know it, but they also don't because there's a lot of denial going on. I think where he said, "Oh, we kept this information from you." I think this is where we're going to start seeing the power. And it is about retaining power and gaining power, like when Sergeant, what was her name? I wrote her name down.
I forgot to write her name down.
Sergeant Hadrian. She got given the power, and then you saw what happened when she got given it.
Yeah,
and
so I wrote down the theme, power and corruption as a theme for the episode. So how power corrupts, and we saw how quickly that went to her head.
We're done here.
Excuse me, sir, but my questions are not finished.
You've lost your way, Sergeant.
What was the title of the episode again? It was
Litmus.
What does that mean?
Like a litmus test.
Oh right, okay, yeah, sure. Fine. Okay. Well, yeah, it's got to, isn't it? Now that the public know there are Cylons amongst them, there's got to be this whole, as even one of the characters said, it's every man for himself.
Yeah, one of the deck crew.
It's got to be, that way forward now. And then right at the end of it, obviously, Tyrell's like,
I risked my career, my freedom, my integrity for what? So some innocent kid, one of my kids, can take the fall for me? No!
It is every man for himself, and I'm covering my own arse. This is done.
Well,
so
a little bit, yeah. But I really liked the bit where he goes into Adama and actually throws himself at the feet of...
Well, he would do that. I mean, that's Tyrell, right? Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Adama always does. He comes back.
I'm gonna argue against you in terms of he hasn't done every man for himself. What he's done is he's understood and realised how selfish he'd been, and the domino effect consequences of that selfishness.
Okay, yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
So, like, sort of jump into that part of the episode, and that's talking about him. If you take a look at the difference, and I suppose the difference between the humans and Cylons, and what makes them different, you can see that in Sharon and Tyrell's relationship, because he's looked at what's happened outside and obviously made the argument to her, we are not worth this. And what was her response to that?
I can't believe you can just turn your back on us.
We're done.
Well, no, her response was like when she said, I need an explanation, I need to know why this relationship is
because
over.
She can't compute that.
She couldn't he was like, one of my guys, one of my men is in the brig. A kid is in the brig, and she was just like, so are we over?
Yeah.
Like, one thing I noticed was zero empathy.
Yeah.
Literally zero.
She can't code. They can't program for that. And I think this is why I'm saying that they're observing the human behaviour, because they want to effectively
mimic it,
but they can't empathise. So it's kind of like they're trying to crudely mimic what they're doing. But I did going back to the whole Adama thing, because I think there's a few examples in this whole episode where you've seen him just be really not cold, but maybe it's just the acting thing that he's doing. But it was like when he got summoned to the tribunal, and he just took that moment and he put on his glasses and he didn't say anything. It was like, because the power of the pause in any kind of given context. If somebody asks you a question and you don't answer, they normally then start talking. But with him, he was just like, right, let's get this done. But it was he then did it again. He called out the sergeant, he said, "You've lost your way," and he just absolutely, he's just like in those moments. And the same with when he went up, he was walking out of the room, and she said, "Stop him," and he then turned around and spun it on her head, and he was just like, "Think about this, son," and he just like really just stared the guy down. He didn't even need to say much. It was just like, this is power, and he knows it. But he was just like, he put the choice in other people's hands.
The bit you didn't see is his hand grabbed his nuts. I was like, think about this, son. And that's why his eyes went like this.
The Adama Bull Fondle special.
Exactly. Yeah. Got him. But you're right. I mean,
it's the Game of Thrones bit, isn't it? It's the one scene that I always talk about, which I always think about when I think about Adama, is that bit with Lena Headey where she's the queen and she's in that thing and she goes, "Power is power," and she makes the guards turn around, face the wall, come back, kill him. Nah, don't kill him.
Knowledge is power.
Power is power.
And then sort of saying, no, power is power. And Adama in the same way, he doesn't need to tell everyone, "I'm the guy in charge." He doesn't need to say, "I'm in charge, this is my ship, this is my..." His presence does the work.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I just felt like he went into God mode in this episode. Because right from the moment he saw the bomber, I felt like Adama went up a level and went, "This is real, and I've got to engage with this." And I feel like every scene you saw him in, he was just on it. He was just so much up for it. It was
a really good thing there. Just to on that, because that also gives you the difference in what both him and Colonel Ty bring to the table.
Yeah.
Because Colonel Ty noticed it, so he was like, "Hold on a sec," and then he was like, "Right, I need get to this deck. I need guards." But I think there was something that he said where he was sort of like, approach with caution type situation.
Right.
Whilst he's saying that, you see Adama's
gone straight in. He's just engaged right from that moment.
And Ty saves his life because he's just like, "I've seen him, I'm going for it."
Yeah.
And Ty's just like, "Whoa,"
Yeah, no, completely.
And I think what you then saw after that was Adama actually get rattled by what happened.
Yeah.
He acknowledged that in that moment, his rash attitude could have got him killed. And then what you then see is him having the conversation with Laura, and she acts as that opposing voice of reason because he is emotionally flustered. She's not been a part of it. She knows it's happened, but she's taking a very kind of strong view on it. She's like, "This is why we can't do this." And she's giving him all the reasons, all of the opposition that he needs, that then gives him pause for thought. And then, you then see that it allows him to be more composed. And then he goes back in. So when he gets summoned, because I feel like if he hadn't have had that conversation, he wouldn't have brought the pieces together as quickly as he did. Laura acted as a really good balance in that.
I would also go as far as to say, not only was she if we go back to their conversation early on when he says, "I think we should tell the public, I think we should do this," and she says, well, she brings in the political element, effectively says, if you open this up, you will open it up to public debate. The public will not be happy with this was no one's fault answer.
Yeah.
And a head needs to go on the chopping block.
Yeah.
And I think that foreshadowed towards the end with Tyrrell's man and him taking the
caving in, unfortunately, crumbling.
Yeah, write down the guy's name somewhere. Sosinus? Yeah. So, Specialist Sosinus. So him taking the fall was foreshadowed early on in the episode where she said, "You're going to open this up to public debate. There will be a fall guy." And I think at the end, we saw Adama taking on board her words with Tyrrell by saying, "Look, I'm really sorry, but the fact is, he's not innocent. He did do something wrong. He lied. The public need a fall guy, so you got to live with this, as I've got to live with this, because we all made this decision."
Yeah, I love that. He either lied first or he lied second. Either way, he lied, and that's when it hit Tyrrell. He was just like, "I've got nothing here." And
I like the introduction of the idea that his father was a lawyer as well, so you kind of see why. Was important to him.
Yeah. It's good. Gerald, with you talking about Tyrrell there, and you talking about Sharon earlier, with Sharon having no empathy, being a Cylon. That's obviously why at the end he turned around and went,
"One more thing.
So did you leave that that hanger open?" Because he's starting to question now, isn't he? He's starting to question himself.
Yeah, but also, like, she wouldn't give him the answer. She was like, "I'm going to make." Oh, she's sewing into that whole. There's now going to be the suspicion there, but he'll never be able to prove it.
No,
and more importantly, he won't be able to say it to many people and go, "By the way, do we think that she's because of everything that he's been involved with?
Yeah.
Are we calling himself up?
Yeah.
And he also implicated himself by, refusing to speak, Article 23. So people are already going to be suspicious about him. So he's kind of like trapped because not somebody's taken a fall, but he's now going to feel like, I'm going to have to come clean that I broke the rules. Because the higher ups know it, but nobody else knows it other than the people close to him. Like if that got out, so he can't even take those suspicions anywhere. He's trapped by himself.
I'm interested to see how his crew are going to react to him over the next 3 episodes. If they're going to treat him the same, or they're going to start to question.
I've actually got a question, and this is based on something I think I've just noticed. So going back to the Sharon and the empathy thing, and then the lacking and why she didn't understand. Do you think that although they're trying to mimic and they're trying to figure it out, do you think they have the ability to learn?
Yeah.
So to learn genuine empathy.
I would expect the next 2 episodes, Sharon to be able to empathise, or would not make. I wouldn't expect to see Sharon. The
reason is I thought of a comparison, and it's with the 2 Sharons, because if you actually go back to what we sort of mentioned earlier about Sharon on Caprica,
well, she's very different. She was showing.
Well, she was the one, unlike the other Cylons, that were going, will he go to his love or not? She realised that there was what he would do was based more upon him as a person, and his actions as Hilo and being a good person. Whereas the Sharon on Galactica, we then noticed that she was really struggling with the concepts that people were taking the fall for her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of interesting, that one has an awareness of what she is, and she's learning empathy quickly, and the one that doesn't, who's meant to be a sleeper agent, who's meant to believe they're actually human, is not exhibiting human emotion.
Yeah, just hasn't had those experiences, hasn't learned that yet. So I think they're definitely learning at different rates.
Yeah. I just was interested in
different environments,
effectively in the opposite places from each other.
The answer to your question is I feel like I almost want you to ask me that at the end of the season, because
I'll ask again at the end of the season,
and only because right now we have very opposing kind of. Sharon is our only real example, because you've got Six, who is clearly very. How can I put it? She's very devious in that she's trying to get certain things to happen, and also we don't know what's happening in Gaius's mindfuck palace. Is it her? Is it him?
Well, this is it. I find that fascinating that we've seen a physical version of Six on Caprica, but the one on Galactica is still, it's a figment of his imagination. Is it a chip? You just don't know. But what you do know is she's not physically there.
Yeah, but they're both driving towards something.
Yeah,
and the thing is that they're either testing Hilo or they're testing Gaius. Because you don't know, but the approaches are still the same, relatively speaking. They're both trying to, either drive an outcome or learn something.
And to just clarify for me, what is it she's getting a Gaius to build? Or create
a Cylon detector.
Cylon detector.
It's a Cylon detector, but it's also what he's building it out of.
Yeah, which is a nuclear warhead.
Right. Yeah. Because of course she's pressurizing him into doing this, and I was thinking, what's she trying to get out of this again? Because it's a Cylon detector. It's a bomb, isn't it? It's a bomb. Because
the whole thing with Gaius, right, is that it's either she's a reflection of his psyche and everything that he has felt since, effectively condemning the 12 colonies, because he is responsible for that mostly. So he's going to have some warped trauma going up in there, or it's, as you said, it's a chip. It's something that is showing him more. He's actually seeing it and feeling what he's got going on, but we don't know that yet. So they're keeping it consistent between what we know in the other Caprica so we can't sit there and go, oh, but it seems different, therefore we can make that assumption. They're keeping us constantly guessing.
Yeah.
Even, and we see more than the characters do.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're sitting there going, but it's like, he's behind you type thing.
Yeah.
And we can't. Yeah, it's like a panto in a way. It's fucked up sci-fi panto. And, I think, and as in panto, there's comedy, and in here we actually got, I felt like some comedic moments. I thought when they're trying to make the alcohol, and, I want to tie back to this purely because, this is Chief still breaking the rules. He's being a rule breaker. He's still rebelling in a way. There's and that good use of humor, kids, when he's like going to teach them how to brew. But I think that after that, how are we going to see Chief change in this? Does he still retain that sense of humor and camaraderie that he's had before? Or is this going to really rock him and the responsibility?
Yeah, are they going to be suspicious of him still? Because again, they don't know what happened behind closed doors in that tribunal.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was really good from a humour point of view. I think it's important that with these types of shows, that at the moment it's been very not dark. It's been emotional. It's been intense. The kind of things here around interrogation, suspicion, tension, claustrophobia in a way.
Yeah.
It's all kind of like you feel the squeeze. So when you have just that really simple little line, just to kind of break the tension a little bit, you're like, okay, good. They've got a sense of humour and they know how to make it work. And I think Gaius was able to bring that in as well in the conversations with Starbuck. You're still seeing some kind of tension between the two, but I think the bit that I loved the most was,
see if we got the same thing here. So
was that bit where he's looking behind, you see the
curtain,
and I'm like, hang on, is that the guy in the bed behind there? I realise he doesn't have an arm.
The guy in the bed behind, she's like, I'm liking this.
Yeah. He's like, keep talking, no, but he doesn't. His right hand's been blown off. I think if you have a look, he doesn't have a hand.
Right.
So it's like when you see the hand coming down, I was like, what's that guy doing?
Very horror film.
It took me a moment to go, oh fuck, that's 6.
So I
and then when he's walking down the corridor and she's got him by the throat, and then the security guard sees him and he's like this, pressed into the corner, and it's just like the many wacky adventures of Gaius.
So I did also write something down about that where Gaius and Starbuck, they're talking about the bombing, the fact she points out it's coming your way, and as Starbuck's pointing out, did you think that maybe the bomber was coming for you? Then we saw 6, the Cylon's hand, as in foreshadowing background. You're getting the visual of the conversation through the fact that it's a shadow of a hand of a Cylon in the background, and I thought that was a good way of kind of emulating what was being said.
Yeah,
and also the fact that Starbuck brought up, like you said, she pointed out the Gaius's work is on floor C or sector C.
Yeah,
but nobody else brought that up at all.
I found that fascinating as well.
That is also limited knowledge, so you wouldn't expect them to.
No,
but you didn't even say you didn't even have the likes of Adama, Ty. Nobody turned around and said where were they going with the bomb. The guy only detonated the bomb because he got cornered. Where would he have gone if he was? They never talked about that until Starbuck did. So it's kind of.
I found that fascinating that Starbuck had 3 lines, and one of them was basically solving a problem, solving a plot. And I thought that was... It basically showed
it emphasises her common sense.
Oh, God. But beyond that, like, just her ability to, just...
Get to the point.
Yeah. Completely that.
Yeah, everyone's like, Cylons are among us. And she's like, but what were they doing?
Yeah, forget all the hysteria. What were they actually trying to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. On that note as well, before we move on to the next part. So... This also brought me on to the whole thing around the tribunal element of it, because you're right, because she's got to the heart of the matter, what were they trying to achieve, what they're doing, but obviously the tribunal was more about all right, we know they were trying to achieve something, but how and who and what and who is a Cylon.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting because going back to what Laura had said about it becoming a political matter and that sort of thing, and something I wrote down was that politics doesn't care about the truth. Only about...
People are going to be shocked, angry, terrified, paranoid. There is a price to be paid.
Yeah, basically somebody being
held
accountable and getting a verdict. Yeah. And how that fell in line with it. So what do we think about how the tribunal went and how they handled the situation?
I mean, it's, every show that does a trial, it's classic Hollywood, isn't it? They just line up in the same way, get the bench with everyone staring down at the person, center them in the middle of... it's just like... You kind of knew which way it was going to go, and you knew what was her name again? The Lieutenant.
You had it. Didn't
Hayden or something.
Sergeant Hadrian.
Sergeant Hadrian. I mean, you knew she was going to come full force, play hardball, that sort of stuff, and kind of make Tyrrell the bad guy.
Something I actually wrote down was she was maybe over the line, but she wasn't wrong.
Yeah, that's
the funny part. Is that
embellishing the power and trying to get a confession out of him. But yeah, I mean, I liked it. It was good. I felt like it'd been a long time coming. I felt like I thought something like this would have happened 2 episodes ago, with maybe an Adama or a Ty, like calling someone and being like, "We know that you did this" or whatever. Yeah. So I did like this format.
What I didn't understand though is why keep up the lie? Because what they've done wrong is wrong, as in like staying together and stuff when they shouldn't be. But as you found out in the tribunal, but you're being accused of being a Cylon. So I'm like, why are they keeping up the lie when the truth gets them out of the actual...
Yeah, you think it'd be taken a lot more seriously.
I don't know. I think when you look at all the stuff that happened previously around the small arms locker incident in episode 1.
Yes.
And then, so there's that part, but it's also the fact that she reported it. So when she found the C4 or the bomb in her cockpit, and it's sort of like people will start putting that together. You know, that becomes like collusion and, you know, conspiracy. That will put too much of it on. And if they put that together, and then it's like, right, so you two were getting it on in the sector near the arms locker where somebody then died. That's 2 people who have a motive to lie about, and they did that, but their motive was to protect themselves, not because they actually did anything, or so because you do not know who killed that Marine. You know, and that's the thing, is like, was it Sharon? Most likely, because, you know, she's blown up half the ship already. So yeah, they have an incentive to lie, and also because they don't want to lose what they got, is that they are in a limited colony where roles and responsibilities will get you certain things privileges. Yeah. They would lose that if they lose their rank, and you know, Adama said it to Tyrell. He said you are the best non-commissioned officer we have. You keep my birds in the sky. You know, he has a role to play there, and the last thing that they would want to lose is their best guy for maintaining ships, but also one of the best pilots as well. Like, you know, the hero who found water then suddenly gets found to be, you know, knocked down a rank or 2 because she's getting it on.
Which kind of goes back to prioritising, doesn't it? Yeah. So Adama is prioritising the need to keep everything running because they're still under threat from the Cylons over the political need to find right and wrong.
Yeah, 100%. But I do think that when it comes, tying back towards the tribunal, it's like, because I wrote, you know, she did overdo it, but he played the power card. He just played it in a way that wasn't so direct. You know, he was calling out the things that she was doing wrong in his experience.
So your thought was better than my thought, because my thought just went ball and move.
Corporal of the guard, restrain the commander and return him to the witness chair.
Your orders are to escort Sergeant Hadrian back to her quarters. Make your choice, son.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's sort of like she overdid it, he played the power card, ? And because there will be that, because there'll be some of us that listen to what she says and goes, no, she was doing the right thing. She was holding leadership to account. She was trying to find liars. You know, she did that. She found the liars. And in this, they rattled the cage so much until a rat, you know, there's the specialist. He lied, and he falls into the trap of becoming the scapegoat that they needed. Yeah. You know, as is anything like judicial. You look at justice. It's, you know, does it if the proof is enough, you know, it could be that you have an innocent person, but they'll still go to jail for it.
Funnily enough, you even noticed that, like, and throughout that whole thing, especially when she was interviewing Adama, he was still on side. You could tell he didn't like it, but he was still answering the questions. He was still doing things right up until the moment when he said something. He was like, and she was just like, "Well, I don't have to answer to you." And I was like, "Right, you've now taken it to the line, and you made that cross that turned him against your entire inquiry because he was like, right, that's it. You've lost the message. You've lost the reason why you're here. You're now so entangled in the power of what you're doing that you think that you actually now go beyond what we're trying to achieve, and that's why he kind of went, right, cutting this out."
Because, like, if she had gone all the way and outed every single little thing that she found, is that because it went all the way up to the top as well. It's that, you know, if that got out publicly, and I can't remember if it was being broadcasted or whether it was reviewed back.
It wasn't. No.
So she pretty much found the truth. She showed the truth to us, and it's just kind of. And we have this in our own societies where this kind of truth, if this got out into the mainstream, such truths would absolutely destroy a functioning democracy, let alone 50,000 people stuck in various ships in space being hunted by a race of alien robots. So it's kind of, we have this it's a reflection of our own society. And at some point, these leaders have to turn around and say, no, we cannot let this information get out. And they under the guise of the greater good, and you get this in so many different shows, right? So I think he was definitely right to put her in her place, but I don't disagree with what she was doing.
No, same.
But you can't let all of the cats out of the bag. They let one out with two. They outed the guy who lied and went to the brig and about the Cylons. Yeah. If they did any more than that, it would crumble the entire show. They have to maintain something. So
it just shows how hard it's going to be to really find, the Cylons when people are just constantly lying about everything. So it's
Well, at least they gave out the pictures and were like, "This is who we're looking for." Now.
Yeah.
So you kind of hope that they become the target rather than every other person in the fleet.
Yeah, if you don't, and that was the right thing to do with that, saying, "Look, there's the explanation that there are many copies of the same looking person."
Yeah,
is what you need in the public sphere. Otherwise, it would turn into havoc and chaos because everyone will suspect everyone, as we saw even through the crew themselves. They even inside of Galactica, where they're, like you say, because they're in it, they're in the military, they're inside of the whole thing, they're more regimented about how they do it, but even they started to every man for himself, that kind of mentality. Okay, any other thoughts, anything else from you, Rich?
No, I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much covered it.
I think my last note was just that this apart from the bit with Hilo at the very beginning, this episode really kicked off with Sharon and Chief being together aboard the Galactica, and I just liked that the last scene was the end of Sharon and Chief.
So it comes full circle. Yeah.
And I love that when that happens in an episode. But yeah, you're definitely right. This is probably one of the more standout episodes of the season.
Although interestingly, he only scores on IMDb, I think, a 7.6, so it's actually a slightly lower rated episode, which I find interesting because I like this whole courtroom drama element of it. I thought it was good.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love law stuff, so it's kind of and the arguments they pose. But yeah, that was it for me.
Cool, excellent. So as we always do, the Death Note. Do we have any movement, any changes there, Rich? Do you think, based on events from this episode, do you feel like this is giving you an indication that maybe certain characters might be seeing their end?
No changes.
No change in that?
No change.
Okay, excellent. And again, because we've only seen him in a scene, but does this do anything for our Gaius Ratameter?
Not much. I mean, I'm curious to see where where this bomb / Cylon detection device goes. Obviously, it's an overarching story for him, but I didn't see any change for him.
See, the only thing I saw from that really is, rather than those story elements, was just, Starbuck's back, she's recovering, she's been through a traumatic time, and he's there, being like,
"How you doing?"
I mean, that dude offering a cigar. Yeah, that was quite funny. But I mean, that's to me, that's a standard Gaius behaviour. I wouldn't expect anything less. Yeah. But I didn't see him really. It's not like he tipped her out of bed and went, "We're getting it on." It's not like. So right. Although when he drew the curtain, I was like, "Are we doing this?"
Like, yeah, what's he gonna do here? It was just a bit where he pulls out that fancy cigar, and it's like, "Holy shit, son, you're bringing in the big guns,"
Yeah.
So yeah,
luckily it was just a cigar.
He's kind of like wherever I left him on the meter last time, because I know that he's trying to. I'm not even really thinking about what he's doing around the Cylon detection thing because it's sort of like I think he's bullshitting.
I think he's moving up the crazy scale a little bit. As well.
It's kind of Gaius is just going to be that element that we find immensely enjoyable.
Well, this is why I'm so depressed that the court stuff's over, because he should have been in that court straight away. I mean, there's a million things you could have asked him.
Yeah. But I mean, that court stuff may be over, but as a mini spoiler, there will be more court type stuff.
I don't think so.
Future in it.
I don't think he would have, because Gaius does well when it comes to things of nature, of science, data, and things like that. Not around human behaviour.
You don't think they would have brought in Lieutenant Brown, who saw him strangling himself in the hallway and talking to himself? You don't think they'd ask why he was mumbling about a bomb or anything like that? No.
maybe.
I mean,
though they'd be like, so what did you think was going on? Oh, yeah, asphyxiation. It's a big thing at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is what happened after the explosion.
True.
So they're talking about events pertaining to it. So my question is, why would Gaius, other than his chaotic element, what would he actually bring to a non-military independent tribunal? Why would they bring him in? Because everybody else in there, the security lieutenant or Sergeant Hadrian was independently appointed and given non-commander review status. Everybody on the tribunal was from the rest of the fleet. Gaius being there would have invalidated the whole thing. So I'm just challenging what you're saying and correcting that.
I'm just saying, if you're looking for a Cylon and you've got a malfunctioning human, I think you're pretty close to what you're looking for, right? Overruled.
No, I get you. I get it. Right.
Actually, this quite nicely segues me onto the Cylon detector.
Yeah.
So we now putting Gaius on the Cylon detector.
Well, I mean, I think he has to be, but I mean, it's just. Well, obviously, we're saying no because we believe he's in cahoots with them. But I mean, it's he's just he obviously operates.
I mean, it's
oddly.
a good question though, because you're right. He operates oddly, but we know that he's seeing Cylons in his head, which has been a big question mark as well.
Yeah.
So, would that in of itself, could we consider that as a reason that he might actually be a Cylon because he's seeing them in his head?
I'm hoping he isn't. I still think we're going to find a chip under his luscious hair somewhere where they're controlling him. Yeah. But I just. We'll see.
It comes down to one or two things. He's a Cylon, nuttier than Squirrel. Yeah. Where are we going? Yeah. Which one is it? So
or a bit of both. Anyone else? Do you think there's anyone else that now, especially now that this has become a thing, it's out in the public, this is going to become more of a talking point within the series? So, anyone else that you think might actually be maybe a sleeper agent or possibly a Cylon?
Not yet. I've got nothing I can really use to say I think this person's, other than some dodgy looks, no, nothing concrete.
Okay. Any other final thoughts from you, Rich?
No. Bring on the next one.
Pete?
Nothing.
So say we all?
So say we all.
Get it right, Dan.